So Naaman has it all. He's got military power, he's got prestige, he's got a wife who cares about him. He's also got his own religion. Okay, he's got his religion, which we find out later on in the passage is the worship of Rimmon, who is the god of Aram at the time. But he's got a problem. And his problem is that he has leprosy. Now, leprosy at that time is a word that could be used to talk about many different types of skin diseases. It could have literally been leprosy. Or it might have been any number of skin diseases that were rashes or ongoing issues that have to do with the skin. But either way, it's a problem. And importantly, it's a problem Naaman can't fix. I mean, he's got a ton of power, he's got a ton of money, he's very well connected, he has access to all kinds of resources, but he can't fix his leprosy problem. But in this story, there's an unusual messenger who comes along, and it's this little girl. And in the message, the little girl has good news. Now, you guys notice that this little girl is an Israelite girl who had been captured when Naaman and his army raided the nation of Israel. In other words, she was human trafficked into slavery in Naaman's household. She's a little slave girl. Now, she could respond a couple of ways in this episode. She could either be resentful towards the people and the nation that captured her, or she could be a blessing to them. And it's remarkable that this little girl chooses to say, I know how you can get your leprosy problem solved, Naaman. There's a prophet in Israel who can take care of that whole deal for you if you'll just go to him. Now, it's interesting to note that a little bit later in Israel's history, the nation of Judah, the entire nation, was captured and exiled to Babylon. They were in a very similar position to this little girl being captured and brought as a slave to Aram. And scholars note that the Jewish people would tell stories of this little girl in captivity in Aram in order to be an inspiration to them as to how they should treat their Babylonian captors. That instead of being people who are resentful and working against the grain, that they should be a blessing and set up their houses and put together fields and bless the city that they were a part of. She became an inspiration to them in that regard. But I think this little girl is an inspiration to all of us as well because she's just an unlikely messenger. She's just unpretentious. She has good news. She says, I know how to solve your problem. Go ahead and take care of it. And I want to encourage all of you to never underestimate how God might use you as his messenger. Especially if you're a kid. Sometimes kids think they don't have very much power in this world, but I'm telling you, little kids, sometimes you have an amazing set of power and influence that you have no idea about. Empowered by God and just empowered by cuteness. You know, there's sometimes that an invitation to church to an authority figure or a grandparent from a little kid has 10 times as much power as it would have from an adult. Kids are innocent, and if you just do what God tells you to do, there's no telling how he might use you with a person who's in a position of authority. So this is true of everyone, not just little kids. You may think of yourself as an unlikely messenger, but I want to note that God has a long history of using unlikely messengers to accomplish his purposes in this world.